Since then, in 2002, 4 species, the house martin, starlings, swifts and house sparrows, have all been added to that dreaded red list, that list of species of particular concern. But despite broad agreement that the UK, which is one of the most nature-depleted countries on the planet, requires very urgent action, the reality is that nothing yet of any real substance has been done. So this simple proposal of including swift bricks in new build is key. Modern new build homes are simply not designed nowadays to accommodate nature. The swift brick is a zero maintenance solution. It's effectively just a brick in a wall, and in the context of a refurb or a new build, it's cheap, costs £30, and we know that they work. Now, if this amendment is adopted, and I really do beseech colleagues to support it, we'll be directly helping the government itself meet legally binding targets to halt biodiversity loss by the end of this decade. That there is no downside. In the Netherlands, swift bricks are already installed as a mitigation measure. Look, national legislation is necessary. Of 455 local planning authorities in England, just 9 have planning conditions around swift boxes. So the voluntary approach does not work. And we've debated the issue over and over again. We understand that this country is in the midst of a biodiversity collapse. We're asking here for something so small, so simple, so inexpensive, but something that will have a gigantic impact on these irreplaceable iconic creatures, and I really do encourage the government to think again.
But I would say to my noble friend, Gibraltar have done this, and very successfully actually for several years, if not longer. I do think this is something that really we can get behind, because it doesn't cost the government anything. It just shows that this country and this government is nature friendly.
These bricks, installing them is an absolute no-brainer. They cost between £25 to £35. Now, last year, the big 4 house builders, just 4 of them, Barratt's, Barclay, Persimmon and Bellway, made profits of £2.749 billion. £2.749 billion. I'm sure they can afford a 25 quid brick, my lords, for the 300,000 homes they might or might not manage to build next year. Now, I learned today, and I hope I learned wrongly, that the government might be opposed to this measure. I also understand in the Commons, the government said, we can't mandate this nationally, we must leave it to local voluntary discretion. House building left to local voluntary discretion, my lords? You can't build a house anywhere in the country without the government dictating almost the colour of the curtains. Look at the regulations we have nationally on every aspect of house building, whether it's electrics and plumbing, the type of cement, the way the courses are laid, the damp-proof course, the tiles, the insulation, nearly every mortal thing of importance in a house, the width of the doorways, the banisters you can have, all at the boilers you may install after 2030, all dictated by central government, and rightly so. I'm not complaining about that. What I'm complaining about would be the apparent hypocrisy if the government I support is now saying, oh, we can't order every house to have a little brick installed because that's taking national government interference too far. If that is the case, my lords, then I think that is nonsense. I just wonder if it is the case that the government is opposed to this. I would really like to know where that opposition came from in government. But why in the name of God should a Conservative government oppose this? In the first 3 years of this government, under Michael Gove and George Eustace in Environment, we've made the biggest strides forward in environmental and nature protection this country's ever seen. The 25-year plan, the Environment Act, and now we can lose that good reputation because of a trivial thing if we oppose installing a 25 quid brick.
Lords, I rise briefly, as your Lordship's House may expect, to speak in support of Amendment 221A on swift bricks. If you're a swift brick is not a small thing. The fact that you need somewhere to make your home, to raise your young, is a matter of life and death. And as the noble Lord Goldsmith said, a 60% decline in the population in the last 25 years. These beautiful, just utterly amazing creations of nature that depend on having the place to rest to raise their young. And we're closing those spaces off. And I think the Noble Lord Goldsmith also made an important point about human well-being as well, how much we all benefit from having swifts around, what a wonderful addition they are to our environment. And we think about young people, the toddler who says, "What's that?" and gets it explained and learns more. These are so crucial. So the state of our biodiversity is absolutely parlous. We are one of the worst corners of this planet for nature. And as we've heard from the benches opposite very passionately, surely the government cannot oppose this. Please, let's have some common sense here.
My Lords, I rise also very briefly just to support the Noble Lord Goldsmith's amendment. It's absolutely common sense. And we actually begin to think, why did nobody think of this before? Well, because my concern is, as a young child growing up, loving bird watching, watching swifts, watching all kinds of birds, and knowing how much joy and pleasure that gave to me, is that we could have a generation growing up who would not see that in the future. Could I say to the noble ministers and to the front bench, you know, sometimes you have to accept that you've made the wrong decision, and this is an opportunity now to put that right.